All right, welcome to our June 2025 Stay TA Day webinar. We are going to kick off today with Jen McDonald is going to give us some information about a survey that they are putting out.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks for letting me join real quick at the last minute. I'm not officially on the agenda, but I'm only going to take 30 seconds. I just want to plug a quick survey that we have out there. This went out in our PAS newsletter last week, so you might have already seen it, but I'm just trying to plug it wherever we can. We're trying to get some feedback on the early childhood teacher qualification. And we're trying to share this far and wide. We're making some internal policy recommendations and really hoping to get some good data through the survey on how the field is feeling about the qualification and the pathways and its alignment with the early childhood professional credential. So please, if you hire staff, support in hiring staff, are early childhood teacher qualified, work with people who are early childhood teacher qualified, please share far and wide. The survey will be open through the end of July and will directly inform policy recommendations going forward. So that's all I have. Thank you very much. You want to use your phones to get the QR code, or it'll be in the meeting notes. So thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Jen, if you want to just chat me that image, I'll make sure it's in our meeting notes. Cool. All right, thank you for sharing. All right, next up we have Aveline Rodriguez. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, that's correct. And
awesome.
I do have like a mini presentation. Is it okay if I share my screen?
We'd love it.
Okay, so go ahead and share. All right. Sorry. There we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of TA today. My name is Aveline Rodriguez, and I am part of the Education and Community Opportunities Unit that is within the Air Pollution Control Division at CDPHE. And we have my team is also here today. We have a short presentation for you all just to share some information about air quality resources, and how we may be a resource for you all on this call. Today, I am joined by my small but mighty team, Amber Mitchell, Madeline Percy, and Amelia Cavazos. Yuritsa Servin is also part of our team, but she is not on this call, but I did want to introduce everybody. Okay, so what does our team do? We were created just a couple years ago in the Air Division to really work in unison with the community. So really getting out there and meeting folks where they are to talk about our air in Colorado. Because contrary to popular belief, we do not have the best air in Colorado, and certainly not in the Front Range. So getting our message out there and helping folks learn in real time what today's air quality index is, and then liaising with all of our subject matter experts in our division. So that back and forth. So really focusing on community-based air monitoring and those efforts, education efforts, currently K through 12, but now hopefully opening it up to early childhood, and then doing all sorts of outreach and really meeting with counties, libraries, rec centers, schools, youth groups, where they are to talk about air quality and air pollution. We also lead Air Quality Awareness Week, so you might be aware of that just happened last month. And then we co-lead the Regional Air Monitoring and Messaging Group, which we call RAM for short. And this is just a ton of stakeholders and folks that are interested or involved in air quality, or environmental groups that come and meet quarterly, and we talk about a different air topic every quarter. If you're interested, I do have our email at the very end of this presentation for you to sign up, and we'd love we'd love for anyone to attend that's interested. And then with all of our work, we do prioritize areas historically impacted by air pollution, which again, unfortunately, is too many areas in Colorado. So now I'm going to kick it over to my colleague Amelia to talk about our sensor loan program.
Thanks, Aveline. So I'll talk a little bit about the sensor loan program that we've recently kicked off. So the main goal is to raise awareness about air quality around the community. So depending on the availability of equipment that we have, we partner with local communities like high schools or community-based organizations that host and engage with the sensor data that is being collected at their brick and mortar locations. And so this program lasts up to a year. And the data comes from 2 different air sensors that measure air toxics like volatile organic compounds or VOCs and particulate matter. So just to kind of give an example, these sources of air toxics includes like fumes from gas stations, paints, cleaning products, dust, and smoke. And I do want to note that these data are not used for regulatory purposes, but give the opportunity for communities to learn about what's in the air that they live in. And currently, we have the amazing opportunity to partner with Environmental Learning for Kids, or ELK for short, which is a community-based organization serving youth in the neighborhood of Montbello, which is located in Denver, kind of near the airport. So we're going to be collecting data at their location for a year, sending them monthly data reports and offering educational air quality related workshops for both the kids and their parents. So we're super excited to get this kicked off. And yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Amber to talk more about the Learning Library program.
Thanks, Amelia. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm excited to share a little bit about our Learning Library program with you all. So through this program, we've developed a variety of different educational resources and materials that really just aim to get children engaged in different air quality topics. Through this program, this includes elementary and middle school aged reading books, as well as book lists. We have also digital and printable FAQ sheets that make understanding these air quality topics a little bit more accessible for kids. So for example, we have one on wildfire smoke that talks more about what is wildfire smoke, how does it impact our health, and what actions can we take to protect ourselves. We also include air quality flags in this program where folks can look at the air quality index and actually put up a physical flag if they have a brick and mortar location, just so they are aware of what the air quality is that day or what it's forecasted to be. Also some handheld air sensors, as you could see in the picture on the screen, where you can actually measure the air quality indoors and outdoors. So we also have some fun activities associated with that to really get kids involved. And then we have a variety of other activities that kids can get involved with. And recently we created an activity books, so kids can color in the activity book. And there's also just fun activities in there as well. So we're excited to share some of these packages with each county within the Early Childhood Council. But our digital and printable FAQ sheets and materials are also available for anybody to use. We really aim to make this a replicable program for anybody interested. So I can drop a link in the chat and share with folks on this call to see some of our materials. And if you have any questions, we're happy to share more about it. And I'm going to pass it over to Madeline.
Thank you, Amber. So just wanted to quickly review some of the educational resources that we've created. So far, most of the things that we've done are for formal educators in K through 12 spaces. However, we are, as Aveline mentioned, really excited to think about how do we expand this so that for our littlest Coloradans, they also have a chance to kind of take back some of that agency and make sure that they are able to make those good health decisions kind of like with lead preparedness and things like that. All of our resources are aligned with the Colorado academic standards, and they do also hit a lot of those key pieces that we know are critical for children. So recognizing patterns, basic counting, things like that. We always listen to our municipal and county colleagues to also create resources for adults. And so even if the little ones themselves are not necessarily engaging with some of the more technical resources, their parents are able to do so with plain language resources that will help them to understand what to do when there are those ozone action day alerts, wildfire smoke events, etc. We partner with EPA and our public health entities to support health-based messaging. And again, we're really excited to think about how can we do more outreach with young families. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we have done previously to support youth engagement with air quality, environmental justice, and climate change topics. We support science fairs, youth summits, and other extracurricular learning spaces, both as judges as well as presenters. And then we also create age-appropriate workshops and resources. So for example, Amber and I were in Pueblo a couple months ago with a bunch of kindergartners blowing bubbles and using that as a way of understanding how it's easier for us to protect ourselves from pollution coming out of a smokestack than when it's already out in the environment. So again, having students making those little connections and then starting to think about connecting that more broadly to the earth around them is one way that we're really excited to support some of our littlest residents.
All right. So one way we like to get our messaging out is through what we call FAQ sheets on different air topics, such as ground level ozone or air toxics. So we have quite a few. Most recently, we created a new one specific for early childhood. So this includes pregnant women and then children 0 to 5. And it is a one-page front and back. I included the QR codes here in English and Spanish. They're also digitally accessible. I'm going to send these slides out. You all can have this, and I'm also happy if you want to email us to send it to you directly or print out a bunch and send them your way. But this is our latest FAQ sheet, and it just covers the basics. What is air pollution? How can you find out what the air quality is today? Steps to protect yourself, and then, you know, how it impacts pregnant women and small children, because that's different from adults. So very excited to share this new resource with you all today. So how can we help you? Well, like Madeline mentioned, we'd love to work more in early childhood because the health impacts of air pollution on pregnant women and small children is far greater. So we're open to several possibilities. We are currently liaising with the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. So happy to be here. But, you know, questions, resources, if you want a workshop, a presentation, a 101 on air pollution, we're more than happy to partner with you on and help answer those questions. So I did leave our contact information, our email here. And again, happy to send these slides out. But this is the first time we've ever done these slides in 10 minutes. So thanks everyone. I'm happy to take questions. I don't know if there's any time for questions, but you know, feel free to email us directly.
We got some time. If anyone has any questions, I'm wondering, do you guys offer like in-person and virtual, like trainings or classroom presentations?
Yeah, so we've done professional development, which we'd love to do more of. But yes, we've done a lot of in-person. Happy to do virtual, like a webinar, host a webinar if that's more helpful to reach more folks on this call. But yeah, we can tailor a presentation.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, I think this would be these are great science activities, really relevant information relating to everyday life. Someone just had a question. Joe?
I'm sorry, I don't have a question. I was just gonna clap. Sorry.
All good. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, this seems like a really amazing program, and I hope our councils and our providers take advantage of it. We're always looking for ways to infuse science into the classroom. So,
And one more thing, the learning library boxes, they are completely free and all the materials stay with you all. We do have enough boxes to send to every early childhood council. So we hope to do that this summer. And Amber mentioned elementary and middle school resource books. We just currently got 0 to 5 board books included.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so excited to get those out as well.
Awesome. Ooh, we love new ingenuity and new activities to do with our programs. So thank you so much. Feel free to stick around, jump off if you need to, but also feel free to stick around and see the rest of our Stay TA Day. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone.
I did put the resource link into the agenda. All right. Next up, we have some partners from Adapt to Impact from the Center for Innovative Design and Engineering at UC Denver.
Hi, Charles. Do you mind if I go ahead and share my screen?
Please do. Thank you.
Can you see
I'll
that
go ahead
all
and get
right?
started with my introduction while you get on the right slide there, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Krista LeGray. I'm a bilingual speech-language pathologist at the Center for Innovative Design and Engineering, and I'm one of the team members for Adapt to Impact, which is a new project that was recently launched that we wanted to talk to you about today.
Gosh, I'm Christina Perkins, a speech-language pathologist at the Center for Innovative Design and Engineering. I've specialized my entire career in assistive technology. Then the technology is failing me. I'm not able to get to that first slide. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and try to reshare. Maybe if I do this. Right. There we go. How's that? Can everybody see that all right?
It's still showing the PowerPoint, not the slideshow.
Yeah, if you go to big file present, perhaps.
Or
How about now?
slideshow.
Or slideshow, yeah, that's it, slideshow. Right there.
Still not showing?
You want me to give it a shot?
Sure. Do you mind?
Yeah, see how that goes.
I don't know if it's my mouse, maybe. Is it working for you?
Well, we're about to find out. How's that? Can you see it?
Yeah. Yes. Yay.
Okay, great.
All right. So thank you for having us. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Krista. Okay, so we are just so excited to bring to you information today on the Adapt to Impact program. But we wanted to first take a moment and kind of tell you a little bit about its origins. Some of you may be familiar with the Colorado Early Learning Universal Design and Inclusion Project. This was a project that worked through a cohort framework. We actually trained 5 cohorts, and those cohorts ranged, well, the first year was 24. After that, it was up to 48 participants per cohort. In the end, we trained 216 programs for about 11,000 children that were represented. This was a fairly intensive program. We worked with these programs through 6 months and delivered between 9 and 12 hours of training. So it was a pretty big commitment on the part of our participants. We originally started looking at some of the outcomes and thought, wow, this is looking really good. This seems to be working. And then the question became, well, how do we reach more people? How do we extend out across the whole state? We know we have far more childcare providers than the 216 that we were able to reach. And so that was the genesis of Project Include. And the idea there was that we would be a little more targeted. People would get more of exactly what they needed right when they needed it. It was a little more a la carte, choose what you want from a menu of options. And if you couldn't get exactly what you needed right when you needed it, or you need a little more support, we were able to jump in and provide that. So again, it kind of the same goals for each of these projects, but we just took a different format and approach to each one of them. Here are some of the highlights from the Colorado Early Learning and Universal Design and Inclusion Project. When it ended, we spent a fair amount of time looking at outcomes. And here are just some of the ones that resonated most for us. 96% of our childcare participants felt they experienced a significant increase in confidence when it came to supporting and caring for children of different ability levels. 84% reported that they had higher retention rates for children with delays or disabilities. And then this next bullet I just loved. 89% saw a reduction in disruptive or challenging behaviors. We love, love, love that. And of course, whenever you reduce disruptive or challenging behaviors, we have a coexisting decrease in stress for everyone, right? Project Include, as I mentioned, one of the goals was to extend our reach, and I think we did that pretty nicely. We went from 216 participating programs to almost 1,200 that expressed interest and came on to the project. 86% of them found enough benefit, information, resources, and support that they were happy to recommend the project to other childcare providers. And 86% of those participants also reported an increase in their confidence and ability to support children of varying abilities. So we felt like we had some pretty good success there, but as grants and contracts go, very often, eventually the funding ends, as did those 2 projects in September of 2024. But new funding came around and we all sat down and said, now what? What can we do now? And so Adapt to Impact was about taking the most successful, most beneficial pieces and parts of each of those other 2 projects, refreshing, reimagining, and rebooting for Adapt to Impact. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Krista, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about all the wonderful opportunities and supports that we're currently offering.
Great. So just as a little brief overview about Adapt to Impact, it still is available at no cost to licensed childcare programs in Colorado. The only requirement is that they have an active license number. The goal is, again, to support young children with delays and disabilities and their childcare providers so that they can all participate together with their peers and just be a part of the group. We do provide online professional development we provide resources and support, and we provide access to a loan library of adaptive toys, equipment, and materials. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about what each of those mean. First, we have online professional development. This is available through PDIS. We've gone through the training alignment process for all of them. So this is available to anyone who's interested, regardless of license status, can take these courses. We have 6 of them that are now available. The Introduction to Universal Design course is our first one. We made that one in both English and Spanish, so that one is available. And then our new courses are in the Adapting for Disability series that kind of get more specific after you complete the intro course. So for those, we have communication and early literacy, behavior and cognition, fine motor, gross motor, and vision and hearing. So again, all of those courses are available through PDIS. So folks who have accounts there can receive their certificates as credit towards their licensing and whatever they need that for. As far as resources and support goes, we do have informational resources that we create about different ideas and adaptations and strategies that can be used. We send those out through email weekly. And we also keep all of our resources that we create in a Google folder that we give people access to so they can browse and go back to things as new needs or struggles come up. They can kind of look through the information stored there to see what help there might be available. We also, starting in May, have started having office hours once a month. We have them on the last Wednesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. And we do record those for anyone who cannot attend. They all have a topic of focus, but they can be any sort of question and answer time for any of our participants who have questions about how to support the children in their care. In addition, the last 2 things that we have available were both created through Project Include, but they're still available. One is short tutorial videos that demonstrate how to use toys and equipment as adaptive tools. A lot of those correspond with items that we have in our loan library and definitely in the kits that I'll talk about in a minute. And then we also have videos with DIY solutions for each area of development. So we know how creative all these childcare providers are and want to be able to make their own things sometimes as well and may not have a budget to buy things. So we wanted to create other options for supporting children in any way that they can. Finally, we have a loan library that has been expanded to what we had before. This loan library is only available for licensed childcare providers who have completed the requirements for Adapt to Impact to get access. But the website sidelibrary.com can be used for anyone to browse the library. You can look at what's in there, but only people who have met the requirements will have access to check things out. So in order to get access to check things out, they must complete the Introduction to Universal Design course that is available on PDIS through, we host it on Moodle. That one will get you limited access to get started with the library, but at that point you'll only have access to the items that are for more universal design strategies and approaches. And then if you want access to the full library to get anything that you want, you just have to complete one additional course from our Adapting for Disability series, and then your account will be upgraded to full access. So in our library, if you get a chance to browse it, you'll see that we have over 200 items available. The items are available for checkout for a 6-week loan. And we do use the interlibrary loan courier service to be able to distribute the equipment throughout the state and be able to reach those people that aren't within driving distance of Denver in our downtown office here. So some of you may be familiar with these universal design kits that were developed through Project Include. These big kits are currently with a lot of our ECCs some of the ECCs who didn't have capacity. We are working with other community programs to have them in their communities. But these sets are available still in the communities. We have the communication and literacy kit. We also have the behavior and cognition kit, the fine and gross motor kit, the vision and hearing kit, and the infant kit. So all of these kits, as you can see, they're quite large with quite a bit of equipment in them. All of them have QR codes attached. All of the items in there have QR codes attached to them that will take you to those instructional videos that I mentioned. So that if someone has, oh, I've seen a ring stacker before, I know what that is. The video will tell you about how the ring stacker can be used as an inclusive tool for children that need a little extra support. So these full complete kits are still available in the field. We have smaller, more segmented versions of these kits available in our loan library, but people can still access the full kits through their local community program. So there are two different routes then that the child care providers can borrow equipment from us to try different adaptations to support children with disabilities. If they want to come through Adapt to Impact to have access to the whole library, then they only have to complete the intake form from the Adapt to Impact website to get started, and then they'll get additional instructions on the courses that need to be completed. So they can complete the intro course to get limited access, and then one more Adapting for Disability course to get full access. And like I mentioned, the Lawn Library does include segmented versions of those big kits that are in the community. However, if someone doesn't have time to complete a course or is not interested in getting those credits, they can contact their ECC directly, and their ECC will either loan the kit to them or refer them to the community program that is offering them in their community. So we have two routes that they can still have access to this information and trying out some of the equipment that we have available for them to experiment with. So if there are any questions about this, our email and phone number is here. There's also an abbreviated version of our website that's just a bit.ly address, bit.ly/adapt to impact. We'll take you to the full website, and all of our contact information is there as well.
Does anybody have any questions?
You're still presenting, just so you know. Cool.
Yep. Had to get to the right button.
Oh, what an amazing resource. And yeah, I mean, we're always looking for ways to interact and, you know, enhance our quality interactions with our most vulnerable kiddos. So we really appreciate this work. And I hope those on the call take advantage. Kristen, what would you like to add?
Just to build on what you were saying, Charlie, I just wanted to elevate appreciation for this team continuing to find ways to offer this support to our providers across the state. This is a gap in our system. We otherwise don't have a statewide structure of support that really focuses on helping our early educators understand how to make adaptations for children with delays and disabilities, although they are required to do so by the ADA. And so it's just incredibly important that these resources continue to be available, especially because we know our latest needs assessment elevated again, just that we need to be doing more for children with delays and disabilities in early childhood. And that certainly builds on prior findings from our other needs assessments across the state. So thank you so much to the SIDE team, and thank you to everyone else on the call who's going to make sure that your providers have access to this really great resource.
Thank you for having us.
Any other questions, comments? All right, and if you guys don't mind just emailing me the presentation, making sure that anyone can view it, and I'll make sure it's in our agenda and send it with our follow-up items today for anyone who misses the meeting or wants to review it later.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All righty. I believe next up we have Amy Raman.
Yes, you got Amy and I, Charlie.
Julio. Yay. All right. Awesome. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here and make sure we have all of that. Perfect. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, good afternoon and muy buenas tardes. Thank you so much for providing Amy and I with some time and space to briefly share with you all some important updates about the Universal Preschool Program Resource Bank. My name is Dr. Julio Alas. I use he, him pronouns and am the Professional Learning and Design Unit Manager within the Division of Early Childhood Workforce here at CDEC. I'm also joined today by my amazing colleague and partner in this work, Amy Raman, who is going to introduce herself and kick us off for our time today.
Thank you, Julio. So yeah, my name is Amy Raman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the kindergarten transitional admin for the Colorado Universal Preschool Program. And with that, let's go to our next slide, please. All right, so to give you a sense of our time together, Julio and I want to orient you to what you can expect to learn today. Our overall objective is to support you in learning about the resource bank and the resources that have been published to the PDIS to support childcare programs participating in UPK. And to do so, here's a peek at our agenda for today. That will include time for us to provide a brief overview of the development of the UPK resource bank, followed by a short demo of the resource bank. And then we'll take that time to also showcase some of the resources that have been included, followed by important information about the next steps that we have in store. All right, so the resource bank is aligned with the 3 quality standards that you see pictured at the top of your screen. It includes information about requirements for preschool curricula and other educational approaches, toolkits, self-assessments, templates, and other resources for use by participating preschool providers. Everything is created and administered and updated by the department as required by legislation. So to simply put it, the resource bank is intended to help preschool providers to meet the requirements of the quality standards. So its introduction first began with a soft launch in the fall of 2024 on the PDIS. And you'll notice that I said this was a soft launch, and the rules were promulgated at the end of March of 2024, and there was a lot of significant adjustments and improvements made based on stakeholder feedback, which were important to get to the point where we are today. Just as the rules will be phasing in over the next year, the resource bank will be developed in phases. The soft launch that happened last fall included developing the landing page in the PDIS for where the resource bank would live and provide the public with the information we just shared so that they knew what to expect for the summer launch. This included information about the resource bank would have within the 3 types of resources. The first being Learn More, which includes basic information and rationale about the quality standards. The second being Colorado Connections, where providers can find links to local and statewide partners to support the implementation of the quality standards. And finally, the Tools and Template resources. Here, providers will find practical information and tools that will help preschool providers understand where they are in relation to the quality standards. And with that being said, I will kick it over to you, Julio.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So we're going to go ahead and transition now to give you a peek at the resource bank and share a link for where you can access this and provide you with some other key details. So first, we're excited to announce that once again, the resource bank officially launched on June 14th. And on your screen, you're going to see an image of what the landing page looks like when users visit the site. Now, on this page, preschool providers will be able to find a brief summary of the resource bank, Bank and telling them what it is, featured resources that are located at the top of the page, followed by links to resources for all of the quality standards just below those featured resources. I also want to note that no PDIS account is required for folks to be able to access the resource bank. So as long as you have the URL address or the link, anyone will be able to see this information. Additionally, as the CDEC works to embrace and uphold language equity, we're really excited to announce that the resource bank is also available not only in English, but also in Spanish and Arabic as well. And so to just give you a little bit more of a sense of what folks will see when they first access the resource bank, I'm going to give you just a brief demonstration so folks can orient themselves to what this is looking like. But note that right now I'm going to put a link in the chat, and we'll also make sure that this is shared in the agenda so you can reference it later. So if you'd like to follow along with me, you are more than welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here, and here is what the resource bank landing page looks like. However, if you somehow lose or misplace this link, perhaps you have the PDIS link handy. I'm going to show you how to navigate from both places. So let's say you're, here on the PDIS system, here's the login page. You can navigate over to this resources link in the top left corner, and then scroll down to Colorado Universal Preschool Resource Bank. Once I click that, it takes me once again to that landing page that we were originally on. And here in the top right corner is where we can see our language widget that translates the site. So if I would like it in Spanish, I select Spanish, give it a moment, you'll get a green pop-up screen, and there it is in Spanish. The same thing happens when you select Arabic. I do want to note, however, that the actual resources themselves are right now available in English and Spanish. However, the site where everything lives is also able to get translated into Arabic. But do know that the actual resources currently are in English and Spanish right now. We're going to go ahead and switch back to English for our demonstration here. And as I mentioned, up at the top, folks get a general description about what this tool is and what it can be used for, followed by some of the featured resources that we'll be updating as we get feedback around what folks are gravitating more to, so that folks can have easy access to those hot resources that everybody's wanting to get their hands on. Now, this is a carousel, and if I use these arrows here, I'm able to see what those featured resources are. So I'm just scrolling through those. Right now, there are currently 3. As I scroll farther down, you can see the actual quality standards with short explanations about what each one of these are addressing. And if I keep going further down this page, I get to see some featured resources that are housed within each of those quality standards. So I want to just give you all a glimpse as to what that is looking like, and we'll actually get to click on some of these here in just a moment. And then at the very bottom, we have those featured resources again, in case folks missed them while they were scrolling. So you can see those here at the bottom. And then finally, some opportunities for folks to reach out to us if there are any questions or if you have feedback about what you are seeing here on the resource bank. So to kick us off, I'm going to go ahead and just show you what happens once I click on one of the quality standards and then start exploring some of these resources. First up, we're here in the family and community engagement resources. And as Amy mentioned to us earlier, each one of the quality standards is going to be broken up into those 3 sections. So here we have that learn more that talks to us a little bit more about what the standard is, how it's connected to quality. And then we get into Colorado Connections that helps folks know who some of the key partners or experts in the community are that might be able to support providers with implementing this quality standard. And then as you scroll to the bottom is where we have some of those tools and templates. Now, as Amy and I have been talking about this, some of the resources that folks get most excited about that we want to share with you are our checklists. And so here for the Family and Community Engagement Quality Standard, you can see the 2 options to select the resource in either English or in Spanish. I'm going to go ahead and select English. And then here you can get a sense of what what the requirement is around the family and community engagement standards. I'm going to go ahead and share that so you can see. There we go. And so as you see here, you can see what this quality standard is asking providers to do, and folks can do a self-assessment and say, oh yeah, I am using interpreters, but maybe I need to do a little bit more here to assess and ensure the quality of program, family, and program staff interactions are actually taking place, right? So this is an example of what one of the checklists would look like underneath the quality standards. We're going to go ahead and pop over. I want to show you one more thing here. So now I've jumped back to the resource bank. If I scroll down to tools and templates, there might be some providers out there who are participating in Universal Preschool who might not have policies in place around family and community engagement, or maybe they're looking to beef them up. Well, here you can see some sample language. We're going to go ahead and look at the first requirement here, 1A, under family and community engagement. And once I click that link, it navigates to this page. And again, I get an idea of what that requirement is asking. But if I scroll farther down, I get some sample policy language that I could include into my own policies as a Universal Preschool Program provider, and also get some examples of how I could be incorporating and ensuring that I am indeed meeting this requirement. And so just lots of helpful opportunities and things for folks to explore as they are engaging with the resource bank. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted some of those things for you there. I'm going to jump back to the resource bank itself in the PDIS, and I want to navigate back to that first landing page. So here I am there. And the last thing I want to show you that might be of interest is understanding a little bit more about the learning approach and some of the criteria that the quality standards are calling out. And so this is one of our featured resources. I go ahead and I'm going to hit link to resource. And here it's going to take me now to this slide that gives me the breakdown of what are those criteria that I need to be looking for when I am thinking about my learning approach as a Universal Preschool Program provider. And so lots of information here. I won't read this to you, as I'm sure you all will be able to have an opportunity to get to explore this a little bit further, but did want to just show how easy it is to navigate this resource bank, and also some of the things that you're going to be able to find once you are exploring that. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to jump back into our presentation quickly here and just share that some of the next steps that we have in store here at the department is to continue adding more resources as we receive provider feedback about what folks are needing and are finding most helpful. And in addition to that, this feedback is going to help us to update and curate and develop those future resources. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, feel free to send those into the UPK inbox. Amy's going to go ahead and pop that into the chat here for you, or again, you could scroll all the way down to the bottom of that landing page and find other opportunities where you can connect with the department to share any of that feedback. And so that said, we know that was a quick demonstration, but we did want to open it up now for any questions that folks might have, or if there's anything that we can clarify in regards to what we just shared with you today about the UPK Resource Bank. All right. Well, it sounds like we are set here, but like we said, if you do have anything that occurs to you, Amy has placed the Universal Preschool Program inbox if you would like to send any questions our way. And yeah, we appreciate your time and attention this afternoon. And so Amy and Rebecca, I know you both are on the line. If there's anything else you'd add, I think that's all we have for you here.
All righty, awesome. Any other questions, comments? This is so exciting. It's clear that a lot of people put a lot of time and energy investment into this, and this is a really great way to be able to support our communities as we get our quality standards lifted up. So I hope folks know to reach out if they have any questions. I put the link to the resource bank in the agenda. If anyone loses it or needs to find it, it's there. You can also just reach out. One question here, Julio, is a sample language for written policies aligned with Colorado Shines language?
Yes, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that it is, but we will double check that with our QRIS folks to make sure. But my reaction to that is yes, but we will let you know, Randy, and confirm.
And I would say if you ever are going through the resource bank and you see an inconsistency or incongruency between a UPK resource and Colorado Shines policy or procedure or anything like that, please reach out to us because we want them to align. If they're not in alignment, we want to know about that. You know, and I know we've tried to collaborate and we've tried to share resources and all of that, but you know, we're not perfect. There may be something that is missed or fell through the cracks. So if you're ever seeing anything that looks like it's out of alignment, please, please, please let us know and we will work to correct that. We don't want to be sending two different messages from the same department.
Right. And I will add to that too, that there might be some places too where the standards, there is a little bit of difference in some places. And so when there isn't full alignment, it might be that this is one piece where the quality standard for universal preschool maybe goes beyond or is requiring something different. And that's where we want to make sure we call that out and highlight it for folks. So in that sense, Randy, yes, there should be some alignment. And then also there might be opportunities where the universal preschool quality standards are just asking for something just a little bit different or in a different way, right? But we will make sure to get back to you on this piece.
Any other questions, comments? All righty. Well, thank you both so much again.
Thank you.
All right, we have Christy giving an E&E update.
Hi everyone, Christy Ressler, Emerging and Expanding Grants Manager, and I just have a few reminders and announcements about E&E. So I will share my presentation. So the first thing is invoices. The 2024 invoices are deadline for any base or GAE invoices that occurred in 2024. The deadline is June 30th. After that, we don't want to run into any issues. So please be mindful of that June 30th deadline. And then for all of our fiscal year 25 invoices, state fiscal year ends June 30th. So in just a couple of days, the deadline to submit all of your fiscal year 25 invoices is July 7th. And we've shared your invoices folder with you, and any updates to your invoices have been placed into your folder. So make sure you have access to that. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. And then for our GAE invoices, there should not be any barriers with spending requests. So please reach out to providers, determine the progress on their projects, and then support them with their spending requests. We are continuing on with our office hours. Danielle and I are both there to answer any questions that you have. And Danielle's been a huge resource for questions with spending requests. And then if a provider needs to transfer capital dollars over to materials or vice versa, we still have kept the form for you to fill out to transfer those requests. I saw Lisa. Yep. Lisa, you raised your hand.
I did. On that first slide, can you again say the difference between the two different dates? What's the 30th and what's the 7th? Thank you.
So I just want to make sure that any invoices from calendar year 2024 So January 1st of 2024 through December 31st of 2024, if there's anything outstanding, the final deadline to submit calendar year 2024 is June 30th. Then the second one is for fiscal year 2025. Does that help?
Yeah, you're talking more calendar year versus
yes,
state fiscal year. So that's why I got a little confused. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry for the confusion on that. Yes, Julia?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I have a couple providers that, one that are really wanting to change what they were approved for budgetarily wise. And that's where we're kind of getting hung up on spending.
Okay.
What is your kind of your recommendation for that? Like, I mean, it's like they were supposed to buy infant toddler materials and now they want to buy a shed, but not materials. So kind of those kinds of things.
So when that has come up, Karen, do you want me to answer or do you want to answer?
You can go ahead and answer, Christy, but basically if it changes the intent of the way the grant was awarded, it's not an allowable change. So
yeah, so I was going to say when councils have brought situations like that to me, I immediately open up the original application. I look over the budget. So what they originally intended is what we approved. So if it still meets that intention, then yeah, there's some wiggle room and we can transfer dollars like from one category to another, make a few adjustments. But if it's like they were going to put in shade and now like they want to buy technology, I feel like those two things would be really different. That might not be the best example, but that's what comes to mind. Does that help? Okay, great. Any questions for me? Here's my contact information, and this presentation's included in the agenda. So hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Christy. All right, moving right along. We're a little behind, but we have some cushion room at the end to catch up. So, Riyadh, are you okay that we're running a little bit behind?
Yeah, I'm good whenever you are.
All right, perfect, cool. So next up, let's go with Eva, who's gonna give us an EQ update.
All right. My computer seems to be a little slow, so apologies. All right. Hopefully that is working now. Thanks, Karen. I just wanted to touch base and say hello. I haven't gotten to see many of you for a little while, so wanted to connect about some of the end of the year things that are happening, similar to what Christy was just talking about. Just a few end of year closeout reminders. I'm sure you have all heard these things multiple times and have these dates in your brains already, but also just in terms of the EQ closeout for that aspect of your grant funding, if you can also send final invoices in to me as soon as possible. End of the year is the end of this month, which is next Monday. And all final invoices are due to the state no later than July 7th. I know that that's been stated on this call already. We will be sending award letters to folks as we're closing out your fiscal year from last year. We will be opening up your award letters for next year. Most likely that's going to be happening in mid-July. I'm going to be out for the next 2 weeks. And so it's most likely that we will start to send those letters out to you all mid-July, probably the week of July 14th. Just a reminder that we cannot start new work until final invoices are received. So if you are one of those councils who have courses beginning very early in July, there's a few courses that are starting as soon as July 8th. If you can just try to make sure that your invoices are turned in to me so that we can close your year out and I can send your award letters out as soon as possible. So please kind of keep that on your radar if you fall into that bucket. Additionally, if you think that you'll be past that July 7th deadline, our fiscal team is asking to send an estimate letter that is hyperlinked right there to their email address if invoices will be after that July 7th deadline. And then last but not least, Leah is working diligently right now to open up many courses in PDIS, as we have lots of courses starting in July and August. So if your courses are starting July, August, September, now is a good time. Those meetings are happening with Leah, and also with the understanding of we're not starting anything officially until you receive your contract letter from me. So we're allowing those courses to open, knowing that folks who want to take courses need to be registering right now. But technically we can't start that work until those letters are sent to you. So I just wanted to make sure that was communicated out to you all. I wanted to also announce a new low enrollment process that we will be rolling out this next fiscal year. We know that a few times a year courses are canceled due to low enrollment. We see that this especially affects communities in rural areas. So we've kind of put our brains together to think about how we can support those courses who are facing low enrollment. We have determined a rate, a prorated rate that we would be able to support your council with in running an EQIT course with low enrollment. So if you're noticing that you're just not getting up to, in a rural community, that number of having 12 people enrolled in the course, or in a Denver metro area of having 18 enrolled in your course, reach out to myself and Leah a couple of weeks before the course starts, and we can discuss how to support your council. And Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, so luckily this doesn't happen to us too much, but it has in the past. So if we're doing it on a prorated amount, or, I mean, the issue is it still costs the same amount of money to have two people teach the course. So are we allowed to only have one person teach the course if it's a lower amount? So are we still required to have two, and therefore why would it be prorated?
Yeah, so we're still going to ask that there will be two instructors for the course. What we would be looking at is that we would be asking councils to essentially help support some of the additional funds that we wouldn't be able to support based off of that low enrollment. So we're trying to come up with a solution where we're being fiscally responsible with the funds that that we are sort of mandated to use in a certain way through the federal government, but also trying to come up with a way to kind of do a both and, so that councils would be supporting some of that funding through the council, through other avenues that the council may have, and we would be able to cover a partial amount of the course. So that's essentially what it would look like.
Is there opportunities for then, like, I mean, I can see in person being the biggest challenge, but if we're doing it virtually, there's definitely opportunities to combine with other councils to share.
Yeah. And so that's why we'd like for folks to reach out to us a couple of weeks beforehand, so that we can then, if it's a virtual offering, then we would be able to open that up statewide and do a little bit more outreach that way to try to fill those spots. And yes, Heather, that is going to be outlined in this year's contract. In that award letter, you'll see that information. But if you're feeling like, oh, I'd like to have more of a conversation about this with me right now, Heather, we can set up a time to do that too, or anybody else on this call. And I'm also seeing a question from Stacy. Can you have access to the Smartsheet form? Having a hard time seeing the whole question there, sorry.
Here, I can repeat it if that's helpful. I'm wondering if last time I checked, the Smartsheet form link that we used when we were submitting budgets for next year was no longer available, and it has all of the questions for the information you need. I had spoke to Leah about it once before, but could we either have access to that to make sure we have a list of all the questions so we can provide any updated details that have since been worked out about each class?
Yes. We've been trying
can
to
you give me a list one way or the other.
We've been trying to problem solve that, just hearing some of that feedback, Stacy. And so the way that I have it right now, I have moved that information into an Excel sheet, which is in your folder. I've actually shared that with each of the councils already, just to have some cross-reference points. So if you want to look at that sheet, that has everything that you've already submitted for your courses, including your instructors, the dates, the amount of coaching hours, the course number of courses that you want, all of that's in that Excel sheet. So I can resend that to you, Stacy, and that can be kind of our working document. We run into an issue with sharing the entire Smartsheet with everyone, just because of PII, and we don't have a great workaround to develop that right now, but we can continue to think about how to, and we are continuing to think about how to make that process run more smoothly so that you guys can have better access to that information. But right now it is in an Excel sheet, a Google sheet that you have access to. And so I've encouraged all councils to make updates in that sheet so that we can all see it.
It'd be great if you could share that again.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Yes. All right, I wanted to also announce some new exciting news updates. Leah is going to be running our foundations course in January of 2026. So we're about 6 months out of that. We're starting to do lots of planning around that next cohort. This time we have heard across the state that there's a real need to increase the amount of Spanish courses that are being offered. We hear time and time again that as soon as a Spanish course is offered for EQIT, it fills up extremely rapidly. There's always wait lists. We have very few Spanish courses that run throughout the fiscal year. And so we're trying to increase the number of Spanish instructors. So that being said, if you happen to have folks in your community or on your team right now who are already on your radar that you'd like to send to the next cohort, we would love to get in touch with them soon so that we can get them connected with Leah so that she can make sure that they are getting that application when it comes out. And or if you don't have anyone on your mind, start to think about that. Start to communicate with your team. Start to think about, for you as a council, if that makes sense to develop a Spanish team. We are going to be holding 10 spots, and so we'll be having a total separate Spanish track for this next foundations course. We will be teaching the entire foundations course in Spanish, utilizing Spanish-speaking contractors and using all of the Spanish materials that have been translated. So it will be the same information that Leah and Dusty typically offer. However, it will be all offered in Spanish. So I just wanted to announce that. We're excited to support that this year. Okay, I think that is all that I have. And Leah, if you are on, if you wanted to add a couple of these things, or I can if you're not on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
here. Thanks.
Great.
So yeah, we just a quick few things, and they will be coming out in our communication that we share with the Infant Toddler Specialist Network next week. But just wanted to let you know that they are coming. We will be providing a trauma responsive care training for trainers starting the end of July, and that will be 8 sessions. And once you have completed that training, then you are able to use EQ funds to provide the trauma responsive care training in your community. And we know that with the budgets and how things went, some of you decided, hey, maybe we'll do this option instead. It can be something that's beneficial too if you find you're having low enrollment for EQIT. So please be on the lookout for that. We are opening that to just EQIT instructors and the people in our network for right now. And we're excited to get that going. There is a possibility that we will be offering an additional one later in the year. And as we get details for that, we'll let you know. And also with, as Eva mentioned, that we're having the Spanish track for our foundations course. Foundations is starting in January. That is our plan. And so we will be sending out more information about what is needed to complete the Infant Toddler Specialist Foundations course. And we encourage you to support your people, to build your teams. Sometimes it's really hard when you have 2 people doing all of the teaching, and many hands make light work. And so we appreciate you recruiting and helping people to get connected. If they haven't taken EQIT yet, or if they don't have their trainer credentials, those are things that we can start working on right now, so they're ready to hit the ground running in January. The application will come out soon. We'll share it here at State TA Day. We will also blast it out to the Infant Toddler Specialist Network. And Eva, can you share the next slide, please? This is just the dates of when Foundations is available. So we will meet, it's a total of 70 hours. We will do some in-person days at the end of January. Then we'll meet virtually once a week to review Foundations and do the things that we do. And then we will meet again for some in-person days at the end of March. And then they will be working with small groups and doing their community live presentations. So that is the format, that's the time commitment, and then we'll wrap up everything with final interviews in May. Some of that might trickle into June, but the goal really is to have everybody done by the end of fiscal year so that they are prepared and can join your teams as full-fledged facilitators starting next fiscal year in July 2026. And if you have any questions, please feel free to just reach out. Thanks.
All right, anything else for our EQIT team? All right, some really awesome initiatives this year. I know my counselors are going to really appreciate the being able to prorate some of those trainings and to not have to cancel, and just lots of really great positive changes, and we appreciate those. All right. So Riyadh is going to talk to us really quickly about the substitute fund update.
Hi. I'm just looking for the right. Here we go. Okay, so real quick, I just want to provide some updates on the substitute fund. And in case you're not already familiar, this is work with substitute placement agencies. Those licensed spas work to recruit and place substitutes. So we did get a new spa in Colorado. They got licensed in April. They are serving Mesa County, Garfield, and Gunnison. That's Monument Staffing. Jennifer Knotts launched this with the help of Early Learning Ventures and the Substitute Fund. They already have, I believe, 12 substitutes working out there. There was not another spa serving that area previously. So what they're doing in partnership with the Sub Fund and Early Learning Ventures is, of course, placing substitutes at a subsidized rate. And they're also one of the first to fully launch with the implementation of Alliance Care, which is Early Learning Ventures' sub management software. And one of the cool things about that right now is that it's automating placements, which makes it really easy for low overhead when you're running a placement agency. So Monument works to place directors, leads, aides, and floats. If you want to learn more or you know about a need for access to substitutes in those areas, the contact information is there. And of course, I'll send this out afterwards. And then on July 1st, Early Connections is getting their placement license. So they'll be working also with the Sub Fund and Early Learning Ventures. They already existed previously. They're just getting a spa license now. So through Early Connections in Colorado Springs, you'll also be able to get access to subsidized subs, which is, I guess, starting Tuesday. So that's an area that wasn't served previously as well. And that puts us at 8 spas in Colorado. This project launched with 5. So access is increasing thanks to our partnership with Early Learning Ventures and, of course, the sub-fund support that CDEC provides. The original spa partner is still on this project. That's Wheelhouse Collaborative. And one of the cool things I want to point out about them is that Shannon is working on a curriculum, or has worked on a curriculum to prepare subs to be in home care settings. So by no means is it skyrocketing, but we are seeing an uptick in home care placement. So Wheelhouse is taking the lead on that, and they're a great resource for subs being placed in homes. Colorado Child Care Subs was one of our spa partners for this work. They are still operating as a licensed spa. However, they're no longer partnered with CDEC and Early Learning Ventures for the Substitute Fund. And then just real quick, I want to point out that substitutes and providers can sign up for Alliance Care, and that'll help match them with subs and match their availability, their credentials, how far they want to drive. So we're steadily automating that process. And it's no cost to use it for the substitutes. And then through the sub fund, if a placement agency elects to use the care software, the sub fund would pay for it. So I'll just sign off with some contact information. If you want to know anything more about sub-fund work or our spa partners or Early Learning Ventures, please reach out to me or Virginia at ELV. And those are our 3 currently partnered spas for this work. So I didn't time myself, but I think I got through that fairly quickly. So if there are any questions, that's everything that I have for the group.
Awesome. Thank you. It's an extremely valuable service for our providers, especially in those rural counties. So we really appreciate you plugging it. All right. So let's see, Danielle, I might have you go at the very end because I know a few people may have already seen the spending guide walkthrough. All right, cool. So I am just going to plug real quick, and I know it's been said a couple of other times, but I just put a reminder on here that invoices are due no later than 7/7. And if you're unable to turn in your invoice by that point, you'll need to send us an estimate of how much you will be charging by that date. Otherwise, we won't be able to get the invoice processed. So, I know it's been plugged with E&E, with EQIT, with everything else, but just make sure to get those invoices in on time. We have more information there on the agenda. Do we have a day when programs can apply for QI funds? mid-July. We don't have an exact date because we want to make sure that we have the system entirely cleaned out from fiscal year 25 before it's ready to go for fiscal year 26. So we're thinking mid-July, but we don't have like an exact date at this point. All right, and however, we can get MOUs and begin coaching, correct? Yes. Yes, if you're confident, if you want to do an external MOU, or if you're confident that an MOU will be signed, you can start doing coaching and knowing that we will have those MOUs signed by the end of July. All right, I'm going to have Bonnie do a real quick WIG update, and then we will have Danielle do her QIM spending guide walkthrough. And if you've already seen that, or if you're not a coach or somebody from a council who that would be relevant to, you can hop off a little bit early. But we do ask if you will be working in the QIM system that you pay attention and hang out during that walkthrough. So let's let Bonnie jump on and do her WIG goal update, and then Danielle will give her presentation.
All right, thanks, Charlie. So I went ahead and shared my presentation. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I know Karen has gone through this multiple times throughout this year, so I wasn't going to highlight the current goals as much because I know you've seen them. But really what I want to focus on is kind of, well, yes, the numbers from last month for May, but also what we're changing for the next fiscal year. So as a reminder, our current WIG goal for Colorado Shines is number 4, childcare provider quality. And the goal was to move 5% of the Colorado Shines quality rating and improvement system eligible childcare providers from a level 1 or 2 into a high quality level in each fiscal year for the next 3 fiscal years. So some updates on that. In May, we had 1,174 high quality providers. So our current percentage is 33.4%. So we're up a little less than 3%. This goal has been off track for basically the entirety that we've been tracking it this fiscal year. However, we are continuing to see growth. So we're just not seeing growth up to that 5%, but we are seeing growth month over month. So the plan for next fiscal year and the year after that is to adjust this goal from a 5% goal to a 2% goal year over year. And that'll go through June of 2027. We still think this is like a nice high reaching goal for us, but it's a little bit more realistic than that 5%. We're just not hitting those numbers. So you can see on the chart, we're experiencing that growth. It's just not quite up to that 5%. So under that WIG goal, we have our lead measures. So we have 3 lead measures currently. The first one is to move quality improvement incentive funded programs into high quality. So originally how we were measuring this, we set a goal of 80% of providers receiving QI funding are meeting the goal of moving from a level 1 to a level 2 within 18 months. And then a level 2 provider would be moving into high quality within 24 months. So we're measuring this through a cohort from 2023 because they would be hitting those benchmarks this year in terms of timeline. Currently, 201 out of the 421 providers in that cohort between the level 1 and 2 providers have increased their quality rating. So we're at 47.7%. Out of those, 104 started at a level 1 and 317 started at a level 2. I do want to note, like, we keep seeing our denominator decrease because we've had 52 programs in the cohort close over the last fiscal year. So for the next year, we are continuing with this lead measure. We're using a new cohort. So it'll be a new crop of providers. And with the goal this next fiscal year is to increase from our current 47.7% up to 55%. So our second lead measure, supporting early childhood councils and increasing quality for providers in their region. And so how we're measuring this, we're meeting monthly with each council to focus on identifying successes and barriers for providers moving into higher quality. So we meet this goal every month. Each one of you is meeting with your coordinators monthly. And so we'll continue to do this through the next fiscal year. I will say that the feedback we always get on these from the governor's office when they're reviewing our WIG goals on a monthly basis is they love seeing your success stories. So keep them coming. I love when I get in there and I get to read what the coordinators put. There's just a lot of exciting stuff happening, and it really is a highlight, I think, for all of us in this work, especially when we're dealing with so much data. It's nice to see like the actual things happening in your communities. So our third lead measure, increased childcare provider quality in early childhood councils, trending below the statewide average of 30.9%. So when we started this fiscal year, we had 18 ECCs that were trending below that statewide average. And we were following their progress over the 3-year period. So in the month of May, as like what am I trying to say? So what we're doing in order to measure this, once again, we're having coordinators meet with the councils monthly, just like in our last goal. I will say in the month of May, we had 2 councils, Douglas County and Archuleta County, who moved beyond that threshold. So big kudos to you guys. Now we only have 16 councils that are below that statewide average, which is very, very exciting. We're going to continue looking at this through the next few fiscal years. So hopefully we can get those 16 down to 0, and that would be amazing. So we'll just keep reaching for that goal. And then finally, I wanted to make sure you were all aware we have an additional lead measure going into the next fiscal year. So what that is they want us to design and implement a specific alternative pathway for school district providers participating in the universal preschool program to achieve higher quality ratings. So what we're going to be doing for this, we're going to be reviewing and updating the current school district alternative pathway process. This is in an effort to support school district engagement and to utilize some of the things they're already doing for quality monitoring in that alternative pathway process. This is a process goal, and I want you to be well aware we're not doing this within a silo. So as we're looking at our process, as we're taking the next steps forward, you guys will be informed, and we will be requesting feedback throughout the process. And that was all that I had in terms of WIG goals. Let me know if you have any questions. And I've also added my email address here. As Karen is retiring next week, I'm very sad about it. I will be taking these over, so I'm happy to answer questions as they come up.
Karen's celebrating and the rest of us are sad.
I noticed that.
I put a sad face and she immediately was like, fireworks. So, yep.
Just so you guys know, yeah, in my current role, I'm retiring the 3rd. And so, but I am staying on for just a little bit longer just to do a couple of project wrap-up things. So, yeah, but technically, yes, technically we'll be wrapping everything up. And I'm thrilled that Bonnie's going to take on quite a bit of the work, as well as our group will be transitioning into Angela Ben-Zachary's unit. So again, really great news all the way around. We'll continue to be looking for those efficiencies and process and how we can, you know, be in great alignment with other things that are happening. I just think there's so much potential for this group to continue the great work.
Thank you for everything.
You're
Well, I
I
wanted
know where to find
to,
you, Stacy.
I know we'll be in touch. You can't escape me. You know that.
Right. You never know where I might show up. So.
Yes. I know we're gonna miss you so much, Karen. I was gonna do like a share your favorite memory with Karen as our icebreaker at the beginning of the meeting, but I know that we've already in our at ECLA, and we've already done some celebrations of Karen, and we will continue to do that with your last week here, but I also didn't want to talk about it because it makes me so sad. We're really gonna miss you. All right. That being said, thank you, Bonnie. Any other questions on WIC goals? And yeah, we are, I try to remember. If I don't remember, please remind me. And also with, Michelle and Lil CCCs, please give us any updates, at our monthly check-in, just like some things that are really nice to report on. Our UPK providers, new family childcare providers who have never engaged before, wanting to go through a rating, things like that, where it's just, we like to hear those individual success stories, boots on the ground, what's actually happening with individual people is what we really love to hear. Yes, Lisa, what's up?
I just out of curiosity, thanks for presenting all that. I always love to see how things are going. Are there any, when you present these, are there any that are of concern, or like there's questions about why things aren't improving at the way that they should? Just out of curiosity, since we're not in those meetings.
Yeah, I will say, and to be honest, we just provide the data. And so we're not even in the meeting with the governor's office, like personally. I will say, like, one thing, this isn't news to you guys, that we notice kind of month over month is just the number of closures that we have and how that affects some of the data. So I mean, that's an issue, like I said, you guys are all well aware of, and we'll continue to work towards preventing that. But that's kind of where we see changes in the data usually.
Yeah. And I think you had something around infant and toddler at one point, and maybe you went through it another time. So that's fine. You don't need to go through it again. But I also think like it would in some ways be interesting to share infant and toddler capacity across the state. If you don't already. I mean, that number shocks people every time I tell them. And I feel like the more people who hear it, the more likely we are to get some actual additional support to advance the work that all of us have been trying to do for a very long time.
Yeah, thanks for it, Lisa. And I know, so that was the WIC goals, not this fiscal year, but the prior fiscal year. And a lot of that work was looking at E&E and employer-based childcare, because both of those grants are targeted for infant and toddler care. While we're not looking at it for the WIC goals specifically, I will say like those conversations are still happening. And so like as things arise, where we're able to look at that deeper, we definitely will bring it back to this group.
Any other questions? All right. So let's see. Danielle is going to hop on and do her walkthrough, and she has a couple other QIM reminders. So again, if this is not relevant information, if you don't know what the QIM is, you're one of the lucky ones, and you're welcome to take off for the rest of the meeting. But if you are in the QIM system, our new QI system in Salesforce, please stick around if you haven't seen this presentation. And then there's going to be a couple announcements at the end too. We'll, as always, be sending out the recording and the agenda, the links in the next few days. All right, Danielle, take it away.
All right, the lucky ones, and Kim. So as you know, we released on June 15th. Some of those, part of the release were some enhancement. One was the coaching now does have to be entered through the coaching portal. So if you do need a coach added to the portal, please submit a help desk ticket with the coach's name, email, and all the councils that this coach will provide coaching for. It no longer can be entered through Salesforce. It does have to be entered by the coach. And spending request went into a new approval flow. So that's what I'll be doing a demo on at the very end. The flow now, it's always been to where, you know, there's a QA navigator and then there's the grant lead. Once, you know, the flow has, you know, it's forced into that is what I'm trying to say, that it does. The QA navigator has their role, then the grant lead has the role. So there's QA navigator, they do the initial spending review. The grant lead will do the final approval and prepare it for ready for billing. And there also is another role that's not on the spending, and that's the MOU signer. So if you have someone that just needs to sign the MOUs, but not be part of the spending process, approval process, look at those roles within your council and see how these roles fit best to the system, because this is how the system is built. So if you need to have someone signing the MOUs, but not part of the approval flow, that is a possibility. Spending must be completed by June 30th. Forfeiting funds, so if spending is done by the 30th, and then if there are any remaining funds within your funding stream, they need to be forfeited by the end of day on July 2nd. If you do need assistance with that, please reach out, submit a help desk ticket, and we can help with forfeiting those funds, but that does need to be completed by July 2nd. QA fund applications, MOUs, I know that has been discussed, that will open mid-July. And there will be no office hours July 3rd, but please join us on office hours. They're on Thursdays besides State TA at 1 o'clock. And let me know if you need to be added to that. Good time to spring questions or walk through different things. And a reminder, I will be out in the morning on July 3rd, so we will not have office hours on July 3rd. That is it for my updates. And I will go over a little review of the process. I'm going to share my screen. And for time's sake, I'm not going to log in as the grant lead and the QA navigator, but I will go through the process. So this is the spending request has been submitted, and on the top, it's going to show where it is at in the process. So it is awaiting the QI navigator for approval. The QI navigator will navigate over to Related, scroll down, and they'll have the approve or reject on the spending request. So they'll open up the spending details, review the spending details. This is also where they can be back ordered, or if there is a spending request that is not an eligible expense, they can back order it or cancel, reject it in this area. So open all the spending details, review them, make sure they're eligible expenses, back order them or reject them if need be. If everything looks good and you're ready to move forward with approval, go back to Related and approve it. Now you'll see on the top, it is waiting the grant lead for approval. The grant lead will review it, make sure it's approvable, and they will also have the approve or reject, and they will approve it. Now it's waiting again for the grant lead, and this is the mark as ready for billing. So you can do it multiple ways. You can do it through the bell or through your list view on your not ready to be billed list view. You would open your spending request, and the grant lead then would prepare this to for reconciliation by entering the information that's needed, doing anything, updating anything, and then approving it. I need to put in information. So that in the invoice date, we'll do that today. Invoice number is 1 or 11. That works too. Now it is marked as ready for billing. The coaching is also similar to approving the spending request. So the coach will enter the coaching through the coaching portal. The QI navigator will receive it. They'll go to related, review it, and approve it there under related. And I will show now that is waiting the grant lead for approval. There is not a third approval on this one. The grant lead, after the QA navigator has approved it and it's waiting the grant lead for approval, the grant lead will then approve it and it will move it to ready for billing. So that is the quick approval process. I'll stop sharing here. And if any has any questions, if they're direct questions about how it would work for your council, definitely please bring that to office hours or meet with us. But if you have a question overall about the approval process, please raise your hand or come off mute.
So one of the things we noticed with this was that as soon as I, as grant lead, approved the initial order, meaning it was good to be placed with the vendor, I immediately got an email asking me to approve it again, which would have reconciled it. And the order wasn't even placed yet.
I did receive your message on that, and we did look into it. We only have two options. We're not able to do the one where their own email is sent out and the bill is sent out for one of the spending request, so only one to you. So either it'd be none or both. So we can either remove it to where you don't receive that message that it's ready to be approved, or when you open that second approval, that you're just reviewing and making sure that it's a new spending request and not one that you've already previously approved. But we did look at that and we're unable to do just one sending out on each spending request.
How do we remove it?
We're not able to remove it, Stacy.
But so I mean, make it where the notifications go away. Even if it's all of them, I have a report I run that would be better, I think, than getting all the emails. Maybe I can work through that with you later.
Yeah, let's work through that and see if there's other options that we can look at.
Okay.
Mary Lynn?
You didn't mention uploading the invoice. Is that required still?
Yes, upload. If you do receive the upload, that's where you put all of the information. Once the grant lead is going to put the invoice number, if there is an invoice, then they would upload the invoice in that time under attachments.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Where is the coaching portal? I think I missed something. Okay, have that one, Shelly. I will make sure that you have a coaching portal. I do believe you have one. If we need to reset the password, then I will send that to you. If anyone else does not have access to the coaching portal, please reach out to Help Desk Ticket and we'll make sure that you have access to the coaching portal. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I will pass it back over to Charlie.
And I believe that is all we have today. Yeah, just one more shout out for Karen's last ATA day. For now, I guess, who knows what the future will bring, but thank you for being such a valuable part of this team and for being part of Lord knows how many of these state TA day calls. If you're talking, we can't hear you. In typical Karen tradition, you're giving a speech with your mute on.
11 years times 12. And then we used to do state TA days like on a quarterly basis for those of you who've been around as long as I have, remember. So lots of state TA stuff. So, but yeah, it's been my absolute pleasure to work with all of you. And yeah, it's just just been, yeah, it's a little surreal. So, but I appreciate so much all the work you do, and I am definitely continue to be your cheerleader, just in a different space. So thank you for the well wishes.
Thanks, Karen. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, great weekend. If anyone is going to Pride Fest this weekend, you know, the state of Colorado or in Denver, the state of Colorado has a booth, an equity booth down there. I'll be working there Saturday from 4:30 to 6:30 volunteering. So stop by and say hi if you happen to be at Pride Fest. It's my first year volunteering. I'm very excited. And yeah, have a great rest of your weekend, great 4th of July holiday, and looking forward to a great new fiscal year starting next week.
And good luck to everybody on closing out your fiscal year.
Woohoo!
Yes.
And call if you need anything. So yeah, I think you all got the invoice message a few times. So yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny.
You got it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.